What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today, and the road to predict all 136 FBS level college football teams makes its next stop in South Bend, Indiana. We are going to be talking about one of the few independents left. It's the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They made a run all the way to the national championship last year. Let's see if they can get back there and complete the goal with a national title in 2025. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and helping to support the channel. My name is Nate Pope, otherwise known as Tailgate Nate. If you want to support me further here on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because turning on notifications, especially in prediction season, will ensure you don't miss a video, especially not of your favorite team. I am delving on into the professional world of sports media, so if you want to see what I do as a sports media professional, go ahead and give me a follow on Twitter or X and Instagram at TailgateNate29. You can also email me, tailgatenate29@gmail.com. I'll also be posting updates about what is going on this very YouTube channel. So make sure you go ahead and subscribe, interact with me or the channel any way you can. I appreciate all of it. But now it's time to talk about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Your head coach, once again, Marcus Freeman, in 2025. Again, ran all the way to the national championship game, including a win over Georgia and Penn State, and a pretty solid Indiana squad from last season as well. Just the comeback effort just fell short against Ohio State in the end. But absolutely a team built to get back to a national title in 2025. How do we do preview predictions on the channel this year? Well, we are first going to go through a roster overview. The offense is going to be on that side. The defense is going to be on that side. And then we'll go ahead and take a look at Notre Dame's 2025 football schedule, give it a good old game-by-game preview and prediction, tell you how I think the Irish's season is going to play out here. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in 2025. Couple numbers I do want to talk to you about first, though, because right down there are returning production numbers. They do include transfer portal additions up to a certain percentage, and the numbers below that are your recruiting and portal ranks according to 24/7 Sports. With all that out of the way, let's start over here with Mike Denbrock's Notre Dame Fighting Irish offense. Look, Coach Freeman, Mike Denbrock have transferred in a lot of quarterbacks as of late. Sam Hartman a couple years ago. Last year, Riley Leonard over from Duke. Sam Hartman, of course, formerly from Wake Forest. This season, it's a real opportunity for Coach Freeman and Mike Denbrock. Why? Well, go ahead and read it right up there. Read it. Read it right there. Okay, it's okay. I'll read it for you. They now have an opportunity to develop a quarterback in CJ Carr. They finally have a quarterback that they can round out, develop how they want, instead of bringing someone in from the transfer portal and fitting it into their system. Now, it's worked the past 2 years. Absolutely, Notre Dame has had very successful seasons, but you get the feeling that something's going to be a little bit different here with a cat by the name of CJ Carr. CJ Carr is a very, very talented player. Didn't see any of CJ Carr last year, so really a big mystery as to what this guy is going to be able to provide from an offense, but I can tell you right now, I think CJ Carr is going to be an absolutely phenomenal player for Notre Dame this season. You go ahead and take a look back at his 24/7 reference page. He was a top 50 recruit. He was a 4-star, number 6 quarterback nationally in the class of 2024. According to 24/7 Sports and one of the scouts out there, they remind him of Mac Jones. Not too bad of a comparison when you're talking about the college game, right? He's a very cerebral player, though. He's very smart. He has high football IQ, and that's exactly what Coach Freeman and Mike Denbrock have. I mean, for obvious reasons, but even more so, they are nerds of the game. CJ Carr is one of those, and I think that's going to pay its dividends when you're talking about the Coach Freeman system. When you move on to the talent that's going to envelop and surround CJ Carr, you got one of the best in the business behind you in the tailback room, and that is none other than Jeremiah Love. One of the best running backs. You could even make the case he's the best running back in the country. 1,125 yards, 17 touchdowns last season, and a 98-yard run in the college football playoff last year against Indiana. He's going to be a dynamite stick for you. I'm loving that terminology this year, aren't I? And also, this is a running back room that can go a lot deeper than Jeremiah Love. Jadarian Price is back. Anais Williams is coming back. And then even a guy by the name of Kedron Young, who is going to be sitting back there as a redshirt freshman. All of those guys are really talented. Again, it's going to be a lot of Jeremiah Love. You'll see Jadarian Price mixed in there as well. And maybe you'll see the third and fourth string guys a time or two this season. But Jeremiah Love is just one of the best running backs in the entire country. Period. End of story. No way around that fact. Wide receiver room. It was pretty young last year, and it does see its fair share of losses from last season. Chris Mitchell is going to be a big one. The former FIU prospect had a pretty okay impact with Notre Dame last year, right around 250 yards. But there were a lot of young names in the wide receiver room last year that got more experience, got really good, and are going to be coming back here. That's Jordan Faison and Jaden Greathouse, especially that of Jaden Greathouse. I think he can develop into quite the stud for Notre Dame this year. He led the team with 592 yards and 4 touchdowns and really came along as the season went on. Jordan Faison there with 356 yards and 1 touchdown there as well. Now, you are going to be losing the experience of Bo Collins, but you get another very experienced piece and another really good player when Malachi Fields enters this room. 808 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 55 catches last year, and in 2023, 58 catches, 811 yards, and 5 touchdowns, all with the Virginia Cavaliers. This is a really, really good player, and I think is only going to add, again, he adds that experience piece that Bo Collins added last year to this wide receiver room, not to mention you get Will Pauling into this room, and I think overall the wide receiver group is going to take a massive step forward, and it's going to be a really, really good room for CJ Carr to throw to. You do have Mitchell Evans gone out of the tight end room. He was one of the leading receivers for you last season, third in receptions for you. Really, really good, big physical tight end. But the tight end room does have a lot of experience and depth. Eli Raridan will be coming back, as well as Kevin Bauman. And then you do get a transfer in Ty Washington coming in before redshirt freshman Jack Larson sits back there. That's your 4 deep in the tight end room. The offensive line group is going to see a lot of transfers leave. Again, with as talented as an offensive line room as Notre Dame had last year, you can't make everybody happy. Pat Coogan, Rocco Spindler, and Sam Pendleton, some notable transfers that will be leaving, but I think the depth is going to very well prove itself here in 2025. Anthony Knapp, Billy Sroth, I apologize if I'm saying that last name wrong. Ashton Craig, Charles Jag, you saw, who's going to be one of the best offensive linemen in the country, and Emil Wagner, according to ourlads.com, your projected starting offensive line. Let's move on over to the defensive side of the ball, and you're going to have a new defensive coordinator this year. It will be Chris Ash. He's been all over the place. He's coached for a lot of different colleges as a defensive coordinator, won a national title with Ohio State in 2014, and has even seen NFL time as well. He's got a cagey defense that is now going to switch to playing a more multiple system. Chris Ash can throw a lot of different looks at you from a defensive standpoint. Notre Dame did that already, but Chris Ash is going to make that a big focus here in 2025, absolutely. Couple big losses, though, throughout a lot of rooms on the defensive side. Defensive returning production, overall really darn good, but that doesn't mean that your losses there aren't pretty significant. Riley Mills, as well as Howard Cross, some very big losses out of the defensive line room. Let's start with Howard Cross, very big defensive tackle, 27 tackles and 4 sacks for him last season. When you talk about Riley Mills, led the team in sacks last year, 7.5 of them in 37 tackles. 2 very big, significant losses for you. But when you take a look at this defensive line room, I don't think they're going to be that bad off, guys. Joshua Burnham, Gabriel Rubio, Jason Anye, and a lot of those guys going to be coming back as well, including playing that Viper position, Jordan Botello, and you can even go back and look at some of these depth pieces. They're pretty good as well. A transfer in Jared Dawson will help out the defensive line room quite a bit in that nose tackle position. Linebacker room. It's been a really good unit for the past couple of years, but your leading tackler, Jack Kaiser, and quite the leader on the defensive side of the ball, is gone. 90 tackles and 2 sacks for him last season. He, of course, will now be wearing some pro colors. However, Drake Bowen will be coming back. 78 tackles, a sack, a couple passes defended for him last season. You're also going to be getting Jaden Osbury, Jalen Sneed. Those are some of the guys that are coming back. Both of them over the 50 tackle mark last year as top 10 tacklers for this team. It was a very deep linebacker room. They're going to prove that again for you this year. Adding in some young pieces with some more young pieces going to play a lot bigger roles for you next year, especially that of Kingston Viliamu Asa. Hopefully said that name right. Phonetically, I hope I did. Apologies for any mispronunciations. But yeah, again, this linebacker room, even without Jack Kaiser, you got some new leaders, especially that of Drake Bowen, who I think is going to be a big significant player for this Notre Dame defense this year. And you got a lot of guys awaiting in the wings that are really talented and very aggressive. So I got a feeling this is still going to be a pretty good linebacker room for the Fighting Irish here. And then in the defensive back room, I think this is where the losses are going to be the absolute biggest, because you do lose Benjamin Morrison, one of the best cover corners in football last season in the college ranks. He is moving on to the professional realm, as well as Xavier Watts, product out of Burke High School in Omaha, Nebraska. 83 tackles, 9 passes defended, 6 interceptions for this defense last season. A monster athlete, a really good player. He'll get his shot to play some professional football. However, you do get some big guys back. Adon Schuler will be back, 5 pass defended, 3 interceptions, while being a top 4 tackler for this defense last year. And then Christian Gray. This guy is also absolutely outstanding. You're going to get him back, 9 passes defended, 3 interceptions last season, and 35 tackles. Not to mention, you are also going to get back Leonard Moore. And Leonard Moore led the team with 11 passes defended last season. Of course, not over here on the list, but he's still a very big impact, significant player, as well as an Alabama transfer. Devontae Smith is going to be coming in here to play a little bit of football, and he's got a lot of really, really good experience coming in. He was a younger player in the Alabama secondary, but totaled 30 tackles last year, and I think it's going to fit in nicely. I believe he's going to end up playing that nickel back when they do move to a system of such. Another transfer, Jalen Stroman, and a couple of young bucks from the recruiting class coming in as well. Another transfer kicker is in. It is Noah Burnett, and then Aussie James Rendell back to do the punting duties. Returns for yet another season. Again, a lot of this team is going to depend on the development of CJ Carr. He's got the amount of talent around him, and Jeremiah Love alone is going to win you some games. But I think this wide receiver room will take a big step forward. The defense with Chris Ash will see enormous amounts of success, and the schedule sets up fairly well for Notre Dame in 2025. Right over here is the Notre Dame 2025 football schedule. But before we dive on into that, there are some numbers I want to talk to you about. They're right down below me, and they are from FanDuel. They are current as of recording this video and subject to change. And no, it is not telling you where to put your money. It's just simply giving you a little insight to what the fine folks in Vegas think Notre Dame is going to look like this season and how good they're going to be. Plus 1,400 odds to win the national championship. Nate, I have no idea what that means. Put that into perspective. Okay, I will absolutely go ahead and do that for you. Notre Dame is right there tied with Clemson for the 7th best odds to win the national championship, meaning Notre Dame, one of the front runners to take home the glory in 2025. Their schedule, well, it's got its fair share of landmines, especially right out of the gate. 2 very, very tough games, including this first one on the road at Miami, that I'll just be upfront and honest and get it all out of the way. Look, this is a Sunday game, weird time. It's going to be CJ Carr's first true action, and you got to go on the road against what's going to be a very, very talented Miami team. I just think this is going to be a loss for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I think Jeremiah Love is going to have himself a great game. I think this wide receiver room can really step up, but until CJ Carr can really form that chemistry in an in-game situation, I do believe that Notre Dame is going to see its struggles here. Miami transfers over Carson Beck. He had a lot of inconsistency problems, and this Notre Dame secondary can force him into throwing the amount of interceptions that he threw in a couple of games last season. However, Carson Beck works those out. I think Miami is going to be fine here. They get a couple really good transfers in, like CJ Daniels and Keelan Marion, to help cushion the blow of losses like Xavier Restrepo. Mark Fletcher is back in the running back room, and this is a front 7 that is still absolutely punishing with Akeem Mesidor, Ruben Bain, Wesley Santhi. Again, apologies for any mispronunciations, and a whole bunch of other names in there as well. I think Miami is going to have Notre Dame's number here in this one. The Hurricanes start off with a win, which means that the Fighting Irish start off with a loss there on the final day of August. But this is a very early bye week for Notre Dame. It's an opportunity to watch the film at Miami, see what you can improve, and then you can take that right next week as you have another really, really tough task on the road at Texas A&M. Now, don't discount what Marcel Reed is going to be able to do this year. I think Texas A&M is going to improve off of that 8-4 record that they had last season. Le'Veon Moss is going to return from injury in that running back room, and you got a couple really, really nice wide receiver transfers in there. Most notably, Casey Concepcion over from the likes of NC State. Sorry, couldn't think of the team for a second. Boosted up the defensive front through the transfer portal with especially a guy like TJ Searcy and a lot of really nice defensive pieces coming back. I think this Texas A&M team is set up well. Notre Dame did beat them on the road last year. Now, that was still, again, early while A&M was trying to figure out their quarterback situation. Again, this is also early. A&M still might be trying to figure some things out. And I think CJ Carr is going to have learned from what he did against Miami. And you're really going to start to see this Notre Dame team, I think, round into form fairly quickly because they're going to have to with the front end of their schedule. I think they split Miami and Texas A&M. So even if you think, oh, the Aggies are surely going to beat them, well, okay, then I think they beat Miami. I think they split those first two games. Just so happens I have them losing the road one and winning the home one, as I see it as the more likely outcome. A couple games coming up here that could be tricky for various different reasons, but I think you should be able to win. I think it's going to be a win for you against Purdue, and then you're on the road at Arkansas. The Hogs have got some interesting pieces this year. But this is definitely a prove-it year for Sam Pittman and quarterback Taylon Green. I think Taylon Green is dynamic, but this Notre Dame defense is going to be really, really good this year, and I got a feeling Notre Dame going to be able to win that one there. I don't think the Hogs will be much trouble for Notre Dame as they go on the road. Now look at this interesting matchup, huh? Notre Dame and Boise State, two playoff teams from last year. Really happy that Notre Dame and Boise State are playing this game. Boise State can make this thing interesting because Maddox Madsen is coming back. A lot of pieces in that wide receiver room, such as Latrell Caples, Chris Marshall, and Austin Bolt, will be returning for another season. A lot of good pieces on the defensive side, especially in that defensive backfield in the secondary, are coming back. But you're going to be without one big, enormous piece, and that's a guy by the name of Ashton Jeanty. Without him, I don't think Boise State's going to be punishing enough to get through this Notre Dame defense, which is why I think the Fighting Irish will beat Boise State. However, the Broncos are my group of 5 frontrunner again this year, so watch out. Boise State can make some noise this year, especially if they're able to keep this one close, much like they did with Oregon last season. NC State is up next for the Irish in their second straight home game, second out of 3 straight home games that they will play here, and North Carolina State lost a lot in the transfer portal already after a disappointing season last year. CJ Bailey back for another year at the quarterback. I just think that there's a lot that's diminished here at NC State. I don't think their wide receiver room is as good. Their defense is going to be very, very experienced, but I think it's got to make some improvements this year. I just don't know if the offense is simply enough. I don't think they have the weapons necessary to beat what Notre Dame has defensively, and just based off of that simple logic, Notre Dame beats NC State. I also think Notre Dame beats their rival in USC. This is definitely a prove-it year for Lincoln Riley. They have got to show up, and they have got to be able to turn things around based off of what the previous seasons have done. Jaden Maeva is going to be that quarterback this year, and look, Lincoln Riley is the quarterback whisperer. I think he's going to be able to perform or get Jaden Maeva to be a very, very good talent. But you are losing a lot of guys out of that wide receiver room. Kyron Hudson, Zachariah Branch, both off to different programs. The defense has got to take a step forward in the right direction this year, and I just don't see all of that clicking enough to be able to beat Notre Dame. Maybe it clicks enough for them to have some significant improvement. That could definitely be the case. It's not going to be enough to beat Notre Dame. I don't think Boston College has enough to beat Notre Dame. Thomas Castellanos could have caused a lot of problems. He's at Florida State. So even though it's a road game, I think Notre Dame wins that one after their second bye week. And then you get this one against Navy here. Whoa, another very interesting game here for Notre Dame. But I just think Notre Dame is supremely more talented than Navy. Even though Blake Horvath is coming back, a lot of these really, really good backfield pieces are going to return again for Navy. They're going to be another front runner in the Group of Five conversation this year. I just think Notre Dame is a lot more talented. Give me the Irish over the midshipmen. On the road against Pitt. All right, let's talk about what Pitt has got coming in and coming back for this team here in 2025. You're going to have another year of Eli Holstein, great. I think that's going to benefit them well. You got some big returning pieces back in the wide receiver room, but Desmond Reed is that game wrecker here. Notre Dame has had a history of sort of struggling in some games like this. Again, look at last year against Northern Illinois. That's a game they should have won, and they lost it. I'm not suggesting Notre Dame is going to lose this game, but Desmond Reed is an absolute firecracker. He is a big playmaker, and if the Notre Dame defense is going to have a hard time containing him, this one's going to be, I think, a little closer than some people may think, but I do got the Fighting Irish pulling out the win there in the end. Syracuse is coming up next, and they are one of the worst teams in the Power 5 in returning production. They are losing a ton of offensive weapons and some pretty good defensive pieces as well. I think there's enough here for Syracuse to be fairly competitive, not enough to get past Notre Dame, though. However, the Irish win that one, and they win on the road at Stanford. Stanford surprised a lot of people last year. I think they're going to take a step back this year based off some of the transfers that are leaving that team. Again, could be sneaky competitive again this year. They were last year. I think they got a chance to do it again in 2025, just not enough to get past Notre Dame. So really, it's those first two games for me that I think are going to put Notre Dame's season here in the hand. They could definitely lose both of those games. I got them splitting it. No matter which way you slice it, that is an 11-1 record for Notre Dame. And in all likelihood, look, with wins over A&M, Boise State, USC, a Navy team that could very well be in the college football playoff, and some other pretty solid wins here as well, I think Notre Dame is going to get back into the college football playoff race and have a chance to go do what they couldn't last year and go try to win a national championship. Thanks for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts on Notre Dame down in the comments section below. Remember to play harder and tailgate harder, and predictions will resume with some more videos tomorrow. Goodbye.